Welcome to Roll Coverage, guys, home of the press conference breakdown. And today is just like any other one. Today, we're going to bring you some Dave Canales breakdown action. We're, of course, going to talk about the future of this preseason week, the failures of last week, and, of course, hopefully improving. But we're going to see exactly what Dave is going to say right now, right here on Roll Coverage.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Nope. They roll coverage. Great day of work. Opportunity to really push these guys, coming off the game and getting our legs back. So we got after it today. It was pretty good. Had a nice move the ball period right in the middle. Short yardage and goal line periods, really just to get the physicality of the play. Of course, we're not taken to the ground, but the feeling of it was there. The aggression, the physical nature of the play was there, which was fantastic. Special teams were running, so I challenged the guys this morning. I challenged them that this was going to be a tough practice and how do we respond? And they responded great. They responded with flying to the ball on all phases, both sides, offense, defense, and special teams. And it always means a lot to me when the guys respond to a challenge. So they really showed me something about this group. It was fantastic.
Hey, so if you guys are aware, Dave Canales always starts off these press conferences with a bit of what I call the prepared speech. Over the past few weeks, we've kind of realized that in that beginning speech, he gives a little bit away sometimes. Now, obviously today, there's nothing to give away. There's no game to look back on, nothing like that. Today, we're just looking at the practice and exactly what we're going to go put out on the field. So Dave obviously is super excited about that. The one thing that we keep hearing from players is that positive outlook does mean something. So moving forwards, we're going to continue to obviously watch that beginning speech, but coming off of 151 total yards, I believe it was, of a 17-3 loss to the Patriots, I'm obviously not happy that Bryce didn't play in the game at all. I need to see something from him. I need to see something from this offensive line. The pass rush got to 1 sack. Secondary didn't really come away with anything too crazy, but of course we didn't get bombed on, so that is progress. But as we continue to move forwards, we need to see measurable improvements in these preseason games, and hopefully Dave's going to be able to give us that. Now, obviously, we have this next game coming up, a joint practice with the Jets as well. So we're going to be able to see our ones against some other ones and then see exactly how we stack up. Could give us a really improved outlook depending on the result. But at the same time, we could also come out of this thinking that we are going to be the number 32 team again. I hope not, of course. I hope we're starting to climb that ladder. But hey, could be one more build year or one more complete rebuild year, So
like a stretch of 11 on 11 where it seemed like the defense kind of had the upper hand. JC breaks up 2 passes, Derek breaks up a pass, and then Bryce comes back and makes like 3 really nice throws in a row. What about that ability to bounce back from bad plays have you noticed from Bryce and really the offense?
Absolutely. We have to have the resilience. Sometimes what happens is the offense comes out a little slow. Sometimes we come out ripping, and it's great, and it feels that way. But regardless of what it starts like, we have to reset. We can't just come out and have a successful drive and think like, hey, this game's going to be in the bag. It's like we got to refocus in. What is the defense doing and make adjustments? Offensively, the rhythm was there. We had some great rushes, great plays on the defense. Guys have balls in their hand and they're knocking the ball down. That comes with fatigue. That comes with the strain, that it takes to finish these plays. That's where we're still growing, and we still have to continue to make sure that we can find those completions, finish the play with the ball, and then move on to the next play. But so I thought it's just a great chance for the guys to be able to feel that, and respond.
Okay, so if you've also been privy to my breakdowns, you would know that Dave Canales normally is a pretty, I don't know the best way to do it, so I'm going to use the only word that I know. He's a very statuesque or like staunch guy. He stands out there and he delivers them. When you see his eyes jetting around like that, that's normally an indication that, he's maybe having to pull from some different areas. Dave obviously has a great opportunity with this offense, but the offense can't be streaky. Bryce did really good in that Packers game, but if we go back and look at that Packers game last year, we see that their team had like 30 people or 16, whatever the hell it was, a massive chunk of their roster that was either on the injury report, about to be on the injury report and everything like that within that week before that game was played. So there was guys that were game time decisions and everything like that. So we didn't really verse the true Green Bay Packers that had won all those games. We had basically their twos because by the time we played them again, the season was pretty much over, and they were basically trying to cinch up their own division. And of course, coming into the Panthers, that's a W for them. So it's just an interesting dichotomy, especially with the way that the defense seems to be coming up more as of late. I'm obviously a little bit concerned about that, because if our offense is able to push it on our defense, yet we go against the Jets and can't do anything, obviously, I'm not saying we have the Jets defense, but if we're the 30th ranked defense, I mean, there's a lot going on here, man. And if our offense can't beat our defense, but our defense can beat our offense, we might have a really, really tough year this year. But obviously, that's all speculation. We need to see it week one. We have so much growth still to come to this team. And this is going to be the guy to bring us to that place. So I'm super excited for you, Dave. But I need to see it week one. I need to see a solid game plan in the official week one. So
pick to Woods. It's like Bryce kind of threw off his back foot on the run.
Yeah.
What's the coaching point there? And do you like seeing guys kind of push their limit so you can correct it later? Absolutely.
We got to challenge our throws. We got to challenge ourselves and the receivers as well for those opportunities. We're going to look at it. We're going to see, what happened and, where Xavier was exactly on the play. But if we're not getting interceptions, we're not trying. And we need to take those shots down the field so that we can hone it in, so that we can become really crisp as we take those shots down there.
With one game under your belt, the new kickoff rule, do you have an idea how that change will shape kind of some of the roster decisions? Is there maybe more of an emphasis on linebackers versus corners, whatever the case may be?
I think it's similar. The biggest change would be really the returner, right? Just knowing that guy's going to get a lot of opportunities. So that not just your punt returner, but the actual kickoff return specialist, becomes a really valuable deal for a lot of guys to show what they can do and make a roster. So whether it's in the running back room, receiver room, or DB room, it's just you're looking for somebody who's got a feel for stretching those blocks and making those cuts, and so it's definitely something that we look at there. As far as the coverage units, it's pretty much the same type of guys. It's those backers, it's those DBs. And if you have a special offensive guy who can cover, that's always a bonus.
Regarding the offensive line depth, did Ricky Lee make any statement against the Patriots? And is he still trending to be a long-term project?
He really had a fantastic preseason game. I loved seeing him out there. I think he's been battling this camp. Best he can go against is in practice. He gets a chance to go against, Jadeveon Clowney at times to challenge him and to kind of see where he's at. And he looked like he really settled in that game, and he played pretty good. He's still got a lot to improve, but he definitely took a step in the right direction.
And that's going to be the reason why I'm worried about this offense. I'm not worried about this offense because of Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, even Xavier, even though he does look like an injury-prone player at the moment. I'm a bit more interested in this offensive line. I'm a bit more interested in the depth of that, as well as our pass rush and the depth of that. We are in such a interesting time with this team where we decided to take weapons over the offensive line. And again, I've been a very vocal person that I feel like we should have taken Jackson Powers Johnson over whoever else we should have taken. There possibly could have been a scenario where we got Xavier and JPJ, but at the same time, I really feel like centering up the offensive line with a guy that's hopefully going to be with your franchise for 15 years at a high level, Jason Kelce type, you hope, that could have been a lot more beneficial for this team. And yeah, we could have had a lot more depth in there. Obviously, the wide receiver room, we need it, but I mean, I just think that with what Xavier is going to give us in year one, we could have gotten from a free agent. We could have gotten from a Jalen Coker or even an Amir Smith-Marset. So we are in an interesting one. Now, obviously, if Xavier goes off for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, I'm going to be eating my words. But I just feel like that injury thing is going to keep rearing its ugly head. So for that reason, I'm a little bit concerned. Again, we're talking about offensive line depth. I wanted JPJ there, but whoever we need to get on this offensive line, I don't care what we spend. Obviously, Damian and Robert were big acquisitions for us, but we need to see this offensive line improve. That's why I'm so worried and why I'm holding my picks, my thoughts, my final thoughts and everything on the Carolina Panthers until the end of that first week. Because if that offensive line comes out there and we get shredded, then it's going to be a long 16 more games. I can tell you that right now.
See, like with him, like he started off on the right side. There was a little bit of some issues there, and then he moved on to the left and kind of settled in. Do you think it's just getting him used to both sides, and maybe he's used to playing left tackle?
Yeah, most guys just have a natural comfort level, but I think in this league, as we know, when you have those extra tackles that have a chance to make your roster, they got to be flexible. They got to be able to play what we call like the swing tackle. So it's great for those guys to get those reps at both sides.
You mentioned Jadeveon. Is there anything you've learned about him in your time around him here that maybe exceeds what you knew about him coming in?
I was with him in Seattle, so I kind of knew what Jadeveon's about. When he's out there on the field, he goes 100 miles an hour. He doesn't take plays off. He's working on his game. He's working on all of his different toolbox, getting the calls, all those things. So he's fantastic to be able to point to that guy and say, look, when you're out there, guys, go. So he's been fantastic that way.
Yep. And actually, I've got a little bit of a thing going back and forth on who's going to be a more successful pass rusher / run stopper. We've got a bunch of different statistics that we're going to base it off, but me and Slick, just in case you're a part of the Panthers fan base, you would know this name. So I'm super excited about that. It's going to be Brian Burns against Jadeveon Clowney. I, of course, love Burns. I'm sad he's no longer a Panther, but I'm excited for that situation he's going to have in New York. Clowney now is going to be our main #1 guy in that pass rush, obviously, besides Derek. So the more people we can add there to give him the opportunity to get freed up instead of getting double teamed is going to really open Jadeveon and hopefully give him a lot more opportunity. So I'm very excited for that as well.
Veteran guy, I mean, he hasn't always been as involved in training camps, as an older player. Yeah. Are you still getting young Jadeveon effort out of him?
When he's out there, but again, we all got to be smart. We took care of him last week by just giving him a vet day to recover his legs, and also just being smart about the volume of reps he takes in a row as we practice. So he's done that, and he's doing it the right way. When we take care of guys, it's not to be nice. It's so that when they get out there, they can go 100 miles an hour. They can go full speed and really work on their craft, going full tilt.
Where do you stand with some of the Andrew Trimble and those guys, Xavier? Will they be ready, you think, to go against the Jets on Thursday for that, or is that kind of the goal? Or?
I wouldn't say those guys will be ready for the Jets, no. The goal is to try to get them back. We're keeping our mind open to the guys that could potentially play for us this week, and then as well as the Buffalo week. These 2 weeks are really important for us. The practices alone, but also just the game prep of playing together and doing things together.
Okay, so that tells us Xavier and Tommy are not going to be there, so we're not going to be able to see Xavier fully available, really getting it done and putting us over the edge. So I'm sad about that. We're probably not going to get Sanders either. I would like to see him, though. And there's a few other people. Of course, Brooks is out till at least week 4. Another L, so we're going to go 0-3 in the preseason. I mean... are we going to see Bryce? Are we going to see this offensive line out there? What are we going to see then? Because if it's just the 2s and the 3s, this is going to be a hard game to watch, and I'm definitely betting that the Panthers are going to get smoked. So
there are a couple guys, maybe a little farther down the roster, who, in your mind, kind of took a jump based on their play against the Patriots.
I thought Deshaun Jameson did a great job. He made some plays defensively. He let one big one get out of there. And on that play, which was really cool, Trevin Wallace from the backside ran it down, knocked the guy out at the 3-yard line, which is great for us. We always believe, just give us a blade of grass and we'll stop them. So that kind of effort is what we're looking for in order to just give us another chance to stop them. And he really did that for us there.
Real quick, Trevin Wallace is known for missing assignments, wrong gap, this or that, but he is a freak athlete. So that's what we heard from there. We didn't hear that he read the coverage right and was able to help him stop it early. He was able to chase him down. So that's an interesting little wrinkle. It may not be everything, but it's certainly something.
Other guys, Alex Cook had a fantastic preseason game. He tackled well in the open field. I was excited to see that. Eku Leota just played so hard, and gave effort in all phases there. offensively, it was great to see Mike Boone have a couple of nice runs and just kind of see like a guy that we can trust, as we put our whole thing together. And then I think, we didn't have a great day passing, so it was really hard to evaluate, some of the guys, and not a lot of them really took advantage of all their opportunities, and the tight ends did. Certainly the tight ends group showed up to be dependable on some of the play actions, the checkdowns and things that we were doing. So again, these guys are going to have another opportunity this week, and hopefully we'll get some more opportunities, especially in the receiver room, to be able to evaluate those guys trying to make this team.
Okay, so here's my prediction for the Jets game. You know what? I'm even going to throw in a prediction for the Bills game. We are not going to eclipse 300 passing yards in either game. Now, obviously, that's quite a bit for a preseason game regardless, but you know what? Let's go even crazy. Do I think that there's going to be a quarterback or quarterbacks that throw for 250 or more yards for my Carolina Panthers in this preseason? I'm going to say a big hell no. Now, obviously, 251, hey, I got a bad beat, I'll take it. But I don't see us going out there and being able to throw the rock on either team. So I don't really know what we're going to be able to go in there and see this crazy evaluation of our wide receiver, including the fact that some of our wide receivers aren't even going to be available.
It's your first padded practice post Thursday's game. Did you see anything out here today that reaffirmed stuff you saw on Thursday night, or something that made you question what you saw on Thursday night specifically?
Yeah, I think I was really excited about the physical play before we played the game, and then it showed up in the game. Today it showed right back up. Guys running around, fitting runs up, running backs finishing like they know how. They really lead the charge in terms of the energy of these periods when we hand the ball off. So continuing to just have that mentality of pushing these guys, to go get it.
Okay, so one of the things that you guys might not know about Canales as well that Buccaneers fans definitely know very well is Dave Canales will not only double down, he'll triple or quadruple down on the run game. So people going out there and expecting us to, Bryce to throw 3,800 yards, I just don't see it with this offense. I don't see it with the way that he wants to run the ball and the way that he wants to establish stuff. So we're really hoping that running and the play action is going to be able to open up a deep route because, again, I think we're going to be pretty bad at the deep ball as well. I just hope that everything comes together in the right moments for him to get enough wins to be able to continue to build this so we can see a year 2 of what Canales could be. But we could also be in a scenario where David Tepper sees 5 wins, 4 wins, 6 wins, and decides that it's just not going quick enough and he'd rather give the reins to somebody else, especially depending on the coaching carousel and how that falls next year. So,
Jordan Matthews seizing the opportunity.
Absolutely. He's doing a fantastic job. We can count on him. He's giving everything he's got on teams, and especially just with that tight end group, just knowing you have a guy who's doing what he's supposed to do in there as we put our groups together, is really valuable at this time, especially with Tommy and Ian not being there.
David Moore is another guy you've kind of had in Seattle and Tampa. What is it about him that makes you want to have him on places you are?
Pretty simple. They throw the ball to him, he catches it. He comes up with the play. He's really strong to the catch, one-on-ones. In team periods, he finishes the play with the ball. That is so valuable, and above all else, just like, can you make the play, whatever it looks like. So just that steady Eddie mentality and his ability to also help us on special teams is huge.
With him playing with the second and third team, we've seen him and Jack Plummer kind of have a little bit of chemistry. How much can that help a guy who's developing when he has a wide receiver, in that group? Not everybody's developed, but to have somebody like David Moore who you can count on.
Yeah, it's huge for Jack, and for Jake. It's huge to have veteran guys, just between him and Amir and Terrace, and you also have we had Devin Tompkins, by the way. Devin Tompkins we had to waive injured today with the hamstring, but these are guys that know our system, guys that step in and are able to show him what it's supposed to look like, because even if he doesn't get the opportunity to throw it, we go back to the film and say, hey, see, this is where that ball gets thrown. So the guys are putting great film, and Coach Rob Moore is doing a fantastic job with that group.
I'm sorry, okay? I'm not somebody to believe that David Moore is going to come in here and affect this roster. If he is, then why are half the receivers on this team? Like, no offense, I'm sorry. If we're picking up guys that are being cut from wide receiver rooms, I'd rather get a Mechie. I'd rather get anybody else other than David Moore. I'm sorry. It's not specifically against him. I'm tired of coaches going to familiarity. We need to find something new and different. This dude worked for a few catches for the Bucs, a few catches in some other places. Now, obviously, that seems a little bit of devaluing of his ability. And I don't mean it to be like that. I just want him to go out there and really go outside of his comfort zone when it comes to wide receivers. Because right now, our wide receiver room is all over the place. We haven't really have a vision of the wide receivers that we want for this team. I mean, even now we're talking about getting rid of Terrace. Amir might not make the team, and if he does, it's for special teams only. I mean, our 4 right now is our first-round pick wide receiver, and he should be a 2 or a 3, but his injuries are holding him back. So I'm concerned. And telling me that it's going to be a receiver from another team that's been on a bunch of other teams and never really been that guy, I just don't see it. So maybe that's just me.
We haven't asked you much about because he hasn't been out here yet, but how close is Yash to maybe suiting up?
Yeah, Yash has probably got a ways. So he's still working through some stuff. Just kind of had a reinforcement surgery in his leg. And so we have to be so smart with guys coming off of these things. And so he's a part of our progression, and we'll keep ramping him up daily, trying to get him ready to go.
I don't think we've asked you about Cam Gill or LeBrian Ray.
Yeah.
What's the deal with those guys?
Cam Gill should be back to us soon. I don't know exactly how soon. I know there was a surgically repaired right hand or left hand, either one. So it's just a matter of the wound healing, but he'll be able to help us and play with the club kind of padded up and wrapped there. And LeBrian's got an illness that we're continuing to treat. It kind of went past 5 days, so we're just all hands on deck with that. Medical professionals, our professionals, all that, just trying to make sure we can get him to where he feels back to normal.
Jaden Sheridan, I didn't see him dressed today.
Jaden was another one that we had to waive in order to fill the roster spots on offensive line. As we all know, we finished the game with 5 linemen, so trying to strengthen that group back up so we can really, play and make it through these preseasons. And just so it helps us so we can get a good look at our offense, make sure we're fortified that way and guys don't have to play the entire time. Yeah.
So, of course, I'm worried about the offensive line. Of course, I'm worried about the depth at offensive line. Of course, I'm worried about the wide receiver's ability to get separation. But what I'm more concerned about is who we're putting in those depth positions. Now, obviously, we've got some guys that we found that I'm super excited for. But when it comes to offensive line, I can't stand really monkeying around with that. So for that reason, I'm not too happy with this. Obviously, this press conference is more focused on just kind of getting to the next game. Jets game is obviously going to come quick, and he needs to get these guys ready for it. So with that being said, this didn't really have the nugget that I was looking for. The nugget that I've been looking for is really what is the solutions that have come about with the penalty problem. What are the solutions with the scheme, with the wide receivers, especially that wide receiver 4, 5, and 6? And that's without even going into the depth of pass rushing and secondary. So we still have a lot of ways to go. Again, I do think we go 0-3 in the preseason. I can't see us winning a single game, especially against the Jets or the Bills for that matter, unless Bryce and everybody decides to play the entire game, which, again, I don't think is going to happen. Bryce is probably going to sit every game and then have to cold start in week 1, and I'm not really excited about that. But we're going to keep monitoring all of Dave's press conferences, including a bunch of other teams. Again, I'm expanding to the rest of the NFC North here in just a few days. But if you want more breakdowns like this, make sure you subscribe to Roll Coverage, home of the press conference breakdown. My name is Nick, where I am hosting this every episode that I can. Hopefully you have already checked out the beginning of our 2024 season breakdown. But I'm just excited for it, man. And I hope you are too. Make sure you subscribe. And again, have a great rest of the day. Peace.